Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Showcase on Warframe. Today's episode is going to be a little long. Why? Vauban, that's why. Yes, the original trapper. The overused and spammer, possibly a trollbon if you know him by. Either you love him or you hate him. For me, I am somewhere in between. Well, I think I'm actually more on the hate side, but no matter, I still recognize he's an excellent Warframe. However, he's incredibly difficult to acquire, prime or otherwise, because you only get his parts through alert missions. Yeah. So a lot of players don't even get a chance to use Vauban for the most part. Or usually that, or they play with him months within before they even get some parts to him. Alright. But yes, Vauban has a very extensive library of abilities, and he's mainly a caster. He's abilities first before anything else, hence why this video is going to be a bit longer than usual. So yes, hard to get, a little tedious to use, but well worth the effort in the end. Alright, let's begin. Now, for stats for Vauban, his health is pretty much 100. Yep, standard. His shield, 75, a little bit below average, but oh well. His armor, 50. Ugh, pretty bad. His power though, is at 150. So yes, he has a very high pool of energy, which makes sense. And his sprint speed is 1.0, so the average sprint speed, despite it, I think he's a little bit slower about that, but whatever. He comes built in with a Naramond and a Vazarin. And the Aura Polarity is also a Naramond. So take which when we will, but it is very customizable. And he already comes pre-built with polarities, so that's nice. Durandal, only if they made him easier to get. Especially the Prime version. Oh dear, the Prime version. But no matter, here's all the abilities here. We got Tesla, Mind Layer, Bastille, and Vortex. And his passive is, his armor increases with each nearby ally. This increases by 25%. So for the normal Vauban, it'd be 12.5 armor per ally. So for a total, you'd be around 85, or 80 some. We'll start with the Mind Layer though. Is the first move, or the Tesla. As you see, you throw it, it shocks enemies. You don't choose what enemy it shocks, but shocks enemies. Very handy. Nice thing is, these can go on multiple surfaces, so if you don't really want it on the floor per se, as you see there, you can go up to a nearby wall, or throw it there, or even on allies, or even enemies. And you can have more than one. You can have multiple of them, up to 18 as a cap. Alright, so we see Mind Layer here, and there's a whole bunch of numbers. A whole bunch. I'll do my best to break this down, because this is the most complicated ability of Vauban. Because it's just 4 different variants. So yes, 4 different variants. So you can cycle through them by pushing your ability button once. As you see, there's a couple of dims, but we'll start with Bounce, since you don't need enemies for that. Bounce is pretty self-explanatory. Bounce. You bounce on it, your enemies bounce on it. It's not really a trampoline as you see, but it can be activated by simply jumping on it or going near it. This is where the trollbon came to infect many years ago, and still is to a certain extent, although thank God he's lost popularity. So yes, you can create your own house of bounce with this very idea. Alright, let's do the tripwire. The tripwire, or the wire, is pretty self-explanatory once you've seen it in effect. Now we're going to get some of these heavy gunners here, since they're well willing to move into it. Here we go. And trip, and you shoot them in the face. So yes, enemies are incredibly helpless when they're knocked down. Kind of like an explosive effect. Next we'll have the Shred Mine. The Shred Mine is pretty much the traditional mine of all descents. So when you get an enemy walk into it, it'll simply explode. To great effect. And the last one is Concussion Mine, arguably the most useful. When you throw it, it'll explode, but won't harm enemies, but it'll affect them with radiation. Great for crowd control. Extremely great. For next ability is Bastille. I believe I pronounced that right, or some other people pronounce it differently. It's French. But anyway, it will entrap enemies, rendering them helpless. Now, this could be in various of sizes and power. More power strength means more enemies being caught in it. And you see, its mine's quite large for this Vauban, and the enemies are incredibly helpless standing here. They can do nothing. Alright. Power strength will again affect the enemies how many you got in here. And last we have Vortex. For Vortex, it's kind of like the backup to Bastille. It actually does damage. Though it's very powerful, it's arguable to say, but no matter. It is quite amusing when you see this. Very amusing. Humorous. Okay, but we're not doing an upgrade of the plain Vauban. Since I got Vauban Prime, we'll be doing the upgrade with Vauban Prime. Going to the ultimate build there. So Vauban Prime is difficult to get. You'll find his pieces in the rare category, almost all of them. Alright, now for the stats difference for Vauban Prime. His health is at 100. What to do? Same. Shields though has been bumped up to 100 as well, so you'll have your full value of shields. Armor's been doubled to 100, which is nice. That makes a big difference in the end. And his power remains the same at 150. Alright, his sprint speed is still 1.0. And for his polarities, they are the same, except you got a Vazarin, a Neramond, and a Materai. So you got an extra Vazarin there. I mean, yeah. And the aura polarity is still the same Neramond. So yes. So this time around, with the armor buff, you'll get 25 armor for every nearby ally. In total, when you have all your allies nearby, you'll have a 175. Which is respectable at that point. It's pretty decent. 100's okay, but it leaves a lot to be desired in the end. So overall, a nice upgrade, isn't it? Alright, here it is. My ultimate build. Is it the ultimate build? Well, no, that varies from person to person, but here's mine. Vauban's incredibly difficult to build for. You can't butcher anything. Now, my builds will slightly change in the future once I get my Prime Vigor. That means my Vitality and Redirection will disappear. That'll leave me an extra slot. But anyway, for now, this is what I have. We got Prime Flow and Prime Continuity for extra energy and duration. Got my Vitality and Redirection for health and shield, yeah. And I got Stretch and Intensify. These are pretty basic. Stretch increases range, Intensify increases damage, and Streamline makes all the abilities a bit cheaper, which is important. This guy uses a lot of abilities. And I got Transient Fortitude. Using corrupted mods is a bit difficult, because again, you can't butcher anything. So we'll opt for a little bit more power strength and a little bit less duration. Now, I should also mention that a lot of the abilities, their timers don't really run on duration. It's mainly their effects. Okay, also I have Power Drift. This adds more power strength and less likely to be knocked over. You can use whatever drift you wish. And for the aura, you can choose whatever you want. I simply chose Rejuvenation because it's the standard I use. Alright. Things I could have done differently. I could have, again, switched out Transient Fortitude for many other things. Now reminded, could have changed it out for Fleeting Expertise. It all changes abilities dramatically. But yes, duration is not the most important thing in my opinion. Not for Vauban. Because a lot of the abilities do not run off duration. Mainly Bastille and Vortex. Those are the only two that run off duration. The other two do not. Duration simply adds more grenades and affects the various mines in various ways. Alright, so we can see here what my build has done for Vauban. Luckily all in the green. More damage for Tesla mines, and I can have up to 12 of them at a time. Sometimes I overuse it and use too many. Now for the mine layer, the armor reduction I forgot to mention earlier was for the shred mine. When enemies are hit with a shred mine, their armor is reduced by 30 to 40%. As we can see here, mine is a lot more, 80%. Balance damage, the balance actually does damage, yes. The def duration is simply the concussion grenade for stats, and you get the debuff, explosive damage, explosion radius, and number of balances, and trip line duration, all pretty obvious beyond that. But Bastille, you can see I can affect up to 24 enemies for 20 seconds, and for quite a good range of 14.5 meters. We have my Vortex, which my ability radius affects up to around 7 meters. The damage is 100, and the power duration is 15 seconds. You can see my various cost abilities are pretty decent as well, because again, I'll be casting a lot of these. Though it always helps to have an EV Trinity nearby. Now, for the test, I'll normally use Grenier for first stage, but this time around, I don't like to use these guys, but I'm going to be using Corrupted. Primarily the Butcher. Why? Because they're gullible. They'll wander into enemy traps. Alright, we'll take one. End level, we'll jack up to 140. Why? Well, let's see how many mines it takes to kill a level 140 with my build at 200 power strength. Alright. So this guy is really painful if he hits me. It's gonna hurt a lot. It might cut through my shields even, and damage my health. Oh, there it is. Yep, sure enough. That was pretty deadly. If it hits me again, I'll be dead. So I'm pretty sure I threw around 12 of my grenades on him, and you see he's just in a world of hurt. And even after he dies, you see that the grenades still stay on the body until it disintegrates, leaving a trap for his buddies. Okay, now let's try a more realistic scenario. We'll take 10 of these guys, and we'll jack them down, well, around level 80. Yeah, level 80 will do. Alright, so we got 10 of them, and we'll start throwing mines. My limit is 12, because it's all based on duration. The more duration you have, the more grenades you can have. But, as we know, I butchered my duration slightly. Not in the negatives. Not in the negatives. So we can see here that the enemies have very little hope of hitting me, or killing me, I should say, but they're constantly being shocked by grenades. Though, it can be said, it's not the most effective way to kill enemies. I call traps kind of like a way to whittle down the enemy. Not to kill them, but simply harm them before you even get to shoot at them. So it's best to put on choke points and defenses, survivals, set up kill zones, that sort of thing. As you see here, it can in fact kill the enemies in its duration time, but not the most effective way to kill them. It takes a little too long. Though if you add my gun to the mix, you can see it would be a lot more effective. So that's the idea. Softens the enemy before you kill them. At least, that's why I believe it's best use intended for, because killing them outright is not the best way. But no matter. Let's move on to the second ability, which, for these guys, I'll still be using the same level 80 and 10 of them. So let's use the mines. Okay, first up, concussion mine. We'll just drop this right here. Boom. All of them hit radiation. And that's what I love. They all start whacking on each other. They attack whoever's closest to them. Excellent. Let's use the shred mine next. Right, let's just drop this right here and see it blow up. Yep. That power strength really ups that ragdoll effect. Oh, I love that. It was, oh man, that was awesome. Oh, okay. So yes, then we have the bounce. Ugh, that got me giggly now. The bounce, yes, enemies will wander into it eventually. You gotta be a little bit encouraged, but see, it doesn't really do too much. It's more or less a delay. It slows enemies down. It's not really meant to kill anything. So arguably it's like the worst. And then the tripwire, we've already seen it. It doesn't really do anything different in this regard. You can add a trip mine and a shred mine together, make it rather effective. But it's arguable to say. My enemies are hesitant to go forward anymore, and they realize that they're set it off. Alright, for the Bastille and the Vortex, we'll be taking the same enemies and just adding 20 of them this time. Alright, I cut right in the middle of this footage so I didn't waste too much time trying to corral the enemies, because they're all a little hesitant to me now. They're kind of caught on to the trick, but they all don't want to group together. Or just the AI path thing that only throws around 12 enemies at us at a time. But no matter. Once I get them close enough, I activate the Bastille and little else can be done for the enemy. You see here, as we know, I can hold up to 24 enemies. I can only use 20 enemies in the shooting range. So everyone here is rather helpless, as you see. I can easily just pick them off like flies. And by the time the Bastille does wander off, it is far too late for them to do anything about it. But they already lost too many numbers, and if there's 20 of them, I'd be in trouble standing here shooting at them. But now, there are too few of them. And again, 20 enemies for the Vortex. The Vortex is not my favorite ability. It's like my least favorite ability among all of Vauban's moves. Mainly because it lacks this lethality, but it's amusing to see a love ball of the enemies. Oh dear. Oh man, the singularity and everything just gets dragged in. But you see that it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. You're seeing various numbers of 20, 18, various, and when they think it's over, it happens again. And then everyone gets sucked in. Now, for Vortex, a good way to stop enemies from attacking you, or if you have punch-through weapons, is the best time to use them. Now, I'll use it again, and this time I'll draw up my primary weapon, the Miter. Arguably a flawed weapon, but I am doing an ultimate build for it soon. Reasons, you'll see why. but it has punch through when you fully charge it. So this is the best time to use it. As you see, the enemies are decreasing in number incredibly quickly, despite his mediocre weapon being shot at them. Within a few shots, they're all gone. And to prove that it's actually my gun doing the damage, here's a full charge shot on an enemy. Yeah. Still with me? Video's almost done. Sorry for the long test. Anyway, for the pros for Vauban, this goes for also the plain one too, and Prime. He's pretty much the trap master. Master of abilities controls the battlefield and the flow of the pace. He also has a large variety of moves available to him. And that's pretty much it. He's not an offensive Warframe, he's more like defensive. Anyway, let's go on to the cons for Vauban. Cons, no matter which kind you have, whether plain or prime, he is difficult to acquire. And he is a heavy ability user, so again, he's not exactly for everyone. And he's not very offensive either. All of his moves are more geared towards defensive. And lastly, he is incredibly difficult to build, since you're not able to butcher any of the stats for all of the abilities to be viable. Well, that's up to you what you do with the stats, but anyway, let's move on to the score for Vauban. Mainly the score will be for Vauban Prime since he is the upgraded version. For his stats and overall, I give it 8 out of 10. He has excellent overall stats. Armor is a little bit low, but that's acceptable, that's okay. Design, I'll give this an 8 out of 10. Excellent design. I mean, some of the abilities could be a bit better, like Vortex could have more damage, but oh well. Concept, I'll give an 8 out of 10 as well. Excellent idea of the Trapper, and executed rather well. Endgame, I'll give a 9 out of 10. He doesn't have the damage, but he certainly controls the enemies at that point of the game. Definitely useful, especially in raids. For Misk, I'll give a 7 out of 10. For that, it's generally not for everyone, but when in the right hands, this is a truly effective Warframe. So in total, I give Vauban Prime anyway, 40 out of 50. He's an excellent Warframe. Excellent is a good addition to anyone's arsenal, providing you can stomach to use them and have the patience. I'm not a great Vauban player, but I know there's plenty of people who are, for sure. Alright, for Judgment, it's pretty obvious that it is definitely worth it. But that comes down to the individual who likes this kind of playstyle. I'm more of a run gunner, dealing a lot of damage, so Vauban's not for me. But I see a lot of people use him effectively, and without him, the whole team's worse off. But anyway, that has been showcased for today. Sorry for a long video. And before you go, if there's a particular weapon here you want to see on Showcase, leave a comment down below the next weapon I choose. I'd like to thank you for watching and take care out there.